Representative Anna Wills.
Thank you. I want to thank everyone for coming out today and taking the time to listen to the candidates, and appreciate the investment of the chamber to do this. My name is Anna Wills. I'm the state representative for Apple Valley, Rosemount, and Coates. I live in Rosemount with my husband and my son Gideon. We have 2 more on the way. And my background is in the restaurant industry, in-home care services, and I worked as a legislative staffer in the Minnesota Senate prior to being elected in 2012. I initially ran to be an advocate for taxpayers and a voice for our community, and I'm proud of the accomplishments that I've been able to do so far with repealing the business taxes, securing $7 million in bonding funding for DCTC, passing a tax exemption for military pension pay, freezing tuition at Minnesota colleges are just a few highlights. I'm endorsed by the Minnesota Chamber and NFIB, Dakota County Regional Chamber, Farm Bureau, Local 49 Operating Engineers, and the Carpenters Union, and I'm dedicated to continuing to advocate for tax relief and common sense regulations and responsible state spending.
Great, thank you. We're going to begin with John Hewitt. John, partisanship appears to be at its highest level, both at the state and national level. What can you do to improve the ability to pass solid bipartisan legislation that works for all Minnesotans?
One of my jobs at LifeLink actually was to go out into the communities that LifeLink served and to work with the businesses, the hospitals, the sheriff's department about how we're going to transport and how we're going to move people. And a lot of times those people did not agree. That room was full of heat in many cases. I learned there that we got to learn to work with attitudes. And one of the reasons I am running, this is one of my main reasons for running, is the clarity. We're not Minnesotans. This stuff has to stop. We're not like the Nationals, and I'm sick of it. And I can guarantee you that maybe my party sponsored me, but I'm going to be representing Apple Valley, Rosemount, Coates, and I'm going to reach across that aisle and do things. Maybe I'm not always right, but I'm going to work hard to make sure everybody's heard, and it doesn't matter about party. That's my goal.
Great. John, if you win the election, you will become a lawmaker in St. Paul. What is the first law you want to pass to help Minnesotans?
Yeah, you caught me on that one. There's a few of them, but
one
of the things that concerns me, and just because I dealt with it so much and I've seen what our transportation system results in, I had colleagues at the bridge. The bridge, it's a terrible thing. It should have never happened in Minnesota. Never. When that bridge went down that day, it was designed only to take 44,000 people across it a day, or 44,000 cars. And it went down and they're doing 144,000. Our infrastructure needs help. And that's where our people are dying on our roads. We've got to get that money there. The bonding bill should have went through. I'm sorry, but that's my priority right now.
John, the Minnesota Zoo is part of your district. 1.2 million visitors each year. The impact on the local economy is $140 million. What do you plan to do to remind legislators in St. Paul that the zoo is an important asset to Minnesota and Apple Valley?
Thank you for that question. It is. I have not visited with the zoo yet, but I've read and done my research, and there are some neat plans for that zoo. And we need that zoo. We need to keep bringing commerce to our area. But we got to make sure that Minnesota knows it's their zoo. So we need to get their help. And I'm going to plan to market that zoo, make sure I visit with these legislators, and again, by empathizing with other legislators around the state what their needs are, we're going to get our needs met. I know what they need in those small towns and communities throughout the state, and I plan to champion it and bring it back so we can get projects such as our zoo and other projects out there too. My biggest job at LifeLink was not only government relations, but it was business development, going out and finding opportunity for the company. I want to do it for this community, and that zoo is a project that I look forward to working with.
Thank you. John, MNsure has given a lot of Minnesotans an opportunity to apply for insurance. What is right with the program, and what, if anything, needs to be fixed with the program?
I'm going to go over. This is definitely a hot spot, and I get it. I worked on the program out in Washington. I worked on it over in Wisconsin, and I worked on it in Minnesota. I was representing my industry. I hear that Wisconsin's better than us because they're on the federal exchange. What a nightmare. It's not true. Employers are suffering over there, too. We need to tweak it. The problem is we have an employer-ran insurance system, and that's interfering with the way that we want this to go. The Affordable Health Care Act was designed by Romney, and we all know that. And so we got to work with it. It'll work, but we got to do it. What's good with it right now? Let's talk about some of the savings we're having on this program. Most of you in this room are not aware of what they call PMAPs. PMAPs are these things that we used to put Medicaid patients on, and basically now we go out and buy them an insurance policy, and they're part of an HMO, which is great because the HMO basically takes care of that. The state's not writing a check for everyone. Providers like it. It's really working good. That's just one example. I have to stop.
Thank you, Jim. Representative Anna Wills. The 2016 legislation ended without an omnibus tax bill and transportation bills being signed by the governor. The governor pushed for a special session, which also did not occur. Give last year's legislature a grade for their performance and why.
If I had to do the legislature as a whole, I'd probably say a B, because we did work together bipartisanly to pass hundreds of bills that were signed by the governor, and there were only a few sticking points that we ran into at the end with the bonding bill. It was really the Southwest Light Rail that held up that bill, and we passed it in the House and sent it over to the Senate, and the Senate added on the Southwest Light Rail, and it died there. And the tax bill had strong bipartisan support in both the House and the Senate. And it was one of the most bipartisan tax bills we've had in the past 30 years. We had about $800 million in tax relief. And the governor chose not to sign that bill. And I fault him for that. So I would say overall we worked very well together and we got a lot accomplished for the state. There's more work to be done. And I voted for both of those bills, the bonding bill and the tax relief bill. And those will be the top priorities to address in the 2017 session.
Can you tell us what piece of legislation that you recently authored that has been passed?
Recently been passed. One that I was able to get passed during this past session, which will be beneficial to our community, is for the Manufactured Homes Trust Fund, which maybe not a lot of people are aware of, but it's a trust fund that allows benefits to be paid out to manufactured home owners if they have to relocate due to a park closure. And there's 3 manufactured home parks in District 57B, so this would benefit those constituents directly. And we were able to get legislation passed to increase that benefit payout for the first time in about 10 years since the fund had been created. And it was one of the most difficult bills that I've ever worked on. I had to bring stakeholders together to the table to make some changes to the bill to make sure everyone was on board with the changes, and we were able to get that passed.
What is the most important issue facing Minnesota today?
I would say one of the most important issues that's facing Minnesota is tax relief that was not passed and signed into law. I'm hearing from constituents as I'm going door to door about how taxes are too high, and I just last week talked to someone who said he's moving to Nevada because he can't afford to live here anymore. The taxes are just too high. And we are focusing on passing tax relief for middle-class Minnesotans, veterans, farmers, college students. I personally had a bill for tax credit for investing in 529 college savings plans. So there's a lot of creative ways that we can help alleviate that tax burden on businesses and families in Minnesota.
Thank you. John, is there a question you'd like to ask Representative Wills?
I usually like women to go first. Anna, endorsements. One of the endorsements you received, which I have to congratulate you on, it was from a labor union. The iron workers, actually the 49ers, we both actually went for that endorsement, and you did receive it. Congratulations on that. However, with that endorsement, it kind of goes against some of the legislation that you not worked on, but have voted against in the past. So include the light rail project. The 49ers are the union with the light rail. It also includes the right to work legislation and prevailing wage. On the prevailing wage, where do you sit in that?
question. Prevailing wage, I think, is something that does need to get addressed in the legislature, and trying to find the best price for the best quality work, I think, is important, and as state government, and especially with unions that are publicly funded, that needs to be a priority. And I honestly haven't dug into the issue a whole lot, so I don't know much more beyond that as far as looking at how we can get that resolved.
Great. Representative Wills, you have a question for John?
My question was on healthcare, and noting that liberal special interest groups are spending tens of thousands of dollars to get you elected, and you've repeatedly said that you are more moderate and wouldn't go with your party on everything. What's a way that you would break away from your party in the area of healthcare policy?
Again, I don't look at this issue as a party issue. I look at it as insurability and what we're going to do to get more Americans insured. The insurance industry is a big part of our economy, and it drives many of you in this room, and who buys your cars, who buys our houses. And so that's a real big factor of making sure we fix this. I don't look at this as a partisan issue, but everybody's trying to make it one. It costs your businesses millions of dollars every year to insure your employees. That's a Republican issue. It costs us millions of dollars to help people. I transported over 5,500 neonatal children when I was working on the street stuff. And those kids, before, we used to get a bankruptcy notice on them after they get discharged from the hospital. Today, that doesn't happen. It doesn't happen to your businesses either. You don't get those bankruptcy notices from people that went bankrupt in healthcare. So I don't see this as a partisan issue, Anna, and I will go across the aisle. I'm really for businesses. You guys are ones paying the bill. Let's get it down.
Great, thank you.